So this is the Hyundai. It's called a Hyundai Atos, 1.1 litre AMT transmission, which sounds wonderful, but we'll talk about that very shortly. And the style of the car, the look of the car is very nice. I think if you have a look at the front in particular, it's quite nicely styled and very well put together. On the freeway, doing 120, very quiet, very smooth. But unfortunately, that's where the good things about this car end. We'll talk about some of the problems now. And the first thing we need to talk about is the lack of features. It's a budget car, of course, so we're not too worried about that, but we don't have any fog lights, we don't have any LED running lights at all. All we have are simple headlights, but that's fine. And it's a budget car, so of course we have our black plastic mirrors with no indicators on the mirrors. Here's the first of the really strange things. There are things about this car that even if I owned it, I would find incredibly irritating. And here's one of them, that you would assume to open the car that you would go like that, and to lock it, you would go like that. But this car is the opposite. This means lock, and that means open. So it's kind of back to front. Let's say I've locked the car. So I'm going to do that, and I've now locked the car. If I go around to the back, I open up the boot like that, and I do something in the boot. And let's say by mistake, I put the keys in the boot and I close the boot. I've just managed to lock my keys in the boot. So that's not a good thing at all. Other than that, there's not much to say from the outside of the car. So let's have a look inside the car and see what we can see. Nothing on the door at all, and I'll explain why. Just a door handle. And unfortunately, huge minus is the fact you have little funny sticks on the side of the window that you use to adjust the wing mirrors. Why did we have anything on the door? Because the doors are controlled from next to your gear lever. Extremely odd and very difficult to get hold of, and not automatic. If you pull them down, they don't go down all the way. They stop as soon as you stop pressing the little lever, and the same when they come up. Very, very annoying. And then weird design features, but what is that? It looks like a spaceship is attached, so that doesn't look good at all. Let's have a look now at the car itself. The dashboard is not too bad. You can see it quite well. It tells you how many kilometers you have until the petrol runs out. It has a very nice touchscreen. The steering wheel is extremely high quality. As I say, all put together well. There's your Bluetooth controls for your telephone are there, and it has a nice cubby hole. And as you see, the gear, this is the automatic version, the gear lever is very fancy, and it's got a beautiful subtle blue light to tell you where the gear is positioned. Lots of little dead switches, of course, that don't work at all. Obviously in other markets it's got these, but in this market these are just blank bits of plastic which don't do anything at all. Dropping down the sun visor, on the driver's side, nothing. On the passenger side, just a little mirror and no sliding protection for the mirror. So a couple of negative remarks for that as well. Seats, quite uncomfortable, and on the side of the seats, horrible vinyl, cheap plastic that really doesn't feel very nice at all. At the back you don't have 60/40 folding seats, you just have one huge seat that folds forward, and not much else to say, except of course in the rear doors, cheapy cheap, you have the dreaded wind up. Remember those from years ago. Driving is not too bad when you're on the open road, but when you're in town, this gearbox, which is called an AMT gearbox, really does jerk. It's like driving with a drunk learner driver. It lurches forward, it lurches backwards. When you want power, it doesn't give you power at all, and it's basically a disaster of a gearbox. I wouldn't recommend the AMT gearbox to my worst enemy. So, it looks quite nice from the outside. Fuel consumption, obviously, is good. Some aspects of the car, the gear lever, the steering wheel, the dashboard is beautifully put together, but unfortunately it's let down by the total lack of features. Features which are from 1980, like mirrors you have to adjust manually, like wind-up windows at the back, like the fact that there's no infrared keyless ignition or even infrared opening of the doors. Everything has to be done with a key, which works in the wrong direction. And so unfortunately, and the gearbox, which is really poor at low speeds. So for all of those reasons, we'll give the Hyundai Atos a 4 out of 10.